Hello and welcome to the Enduro World Series show, the show that brings you the inside line on the very best action from all the EWS racing. This week we have stayed put in the east coast of America but have moved a few hours down the road and into Maine for the EWS Sugarloaf in the Carabasset Valley. In this week's show we will be bringing you all the updates from an amazing race here in Sugarloaf. We'll also be going behind the scenes with the Lapierre Zip Collective as we caught up with their mechanic Craig Miller to give us an insight into the life of a pro spanner wielder, and we'll once again be diving into all the details and analysing some of the pro riders' line choices from race day. But before all that, we headed down to the track to meet some of the fans at the EWS here in Sugarloaf to find out just what has them so excited about bike racing in this part of the USA. The fans swarmed the slopes for the weekend of racing, and we asked them to introduce us to this brand new EWS venue, Sugarloaf.
Yeah, it is. This is like the beginning of the super wild north.
I'd say it's a hidden gem that's grown over the years.
It's super thick forested areas, fairly rugged old mountains.
They say Sugarloaf's one of the gnarliest because it's got a lot of vertical and a lot of technical.
The tracks are steep, rocky, rooty, loose, raw.
Pretty rooty, rocky. Pretty loamy, pretty loose, pretty rocky.
Steep, slidey, fast, technical,
And slick.
I'd say a little soupy in some spots. Pretty
Aggressive. Definitely aggressive.
It feels like the dirt's a little different than like Vermont, so you know they're at Burke last week. It's a lot chunkier here, a little more coverage I would say.
Loamers.
really fun watching these best people in the world come to Sugarloaf. It's awesome.
In the
Yes, your favorite rider was.
Who's the favorite rider? Oh, that's tough. Top
Yours
three.
is Richie Rude.
Yeah, Richie Rude. Yeah, Richie Rude.
Daddy Rude. Obviously got to root for Richie.
Richie Rude.
Richie Rude.
Gotta say Richie. His family's right here, so I can't say anything else.
I go with the homeboy Richie.
Jesse and Jack and Party Boy. Moi, obviously.
Jesse.
Melamed.
Sandhill, for sure. No doubt.
Big fan. I like Ella Conolly. I think she's really cool.
Richie Rude, for sure.
Richie Rude.
Richie Rude.
Sure. I'm not a huge mountain bike fan, but I'm just out here supporting them all.
That dude was flying right there. You should have seen that guy. Holy smokes.
The fans are certainly excited for racing here in Sugarloaf. It's amazing to see some of the famous American enthusiasm for the EWS on our first ever visit to this corner of the country. Sugarloaf has provided us with an amazing race course designed and built by MTB legend and Olympian Adam Craig. So let's not wait any longer and get into the racing. Here's how the race panned out for the pro men's and pro women's EWS Sugarloaf. Racing got underway here in Maine yesterday afternoon with the pro stage. Rock Lobster was a high-octane slice of everything that makes riding bikes in Sugarloaf so good. Gloria Scarzy continued to make a name for herself with a third place on the pro stage. Second position went to the defending champ and a racer that we really have yet to see the best from in 2022, Melanie Poujan. But out front it was a huge ride from Isabeau Courdurier. Still racing through the pain barrier, she proved yet again that she wasn't up for giving up her yellow plate anytime soon. In the pro men's race, racing at home for the consecutive weekend was Richie Rude. He won EWS Burke. Could he make it a historic US double? The man he's trying to catch in the overall, Jesse Melamed, was one spot up the road and had added some additional points to that lead. But no one could catch Pivot Factory Racing's Matt Walker. The Kiwi beat Melamed to the line by 900ths of a second to claim his first ever stage win. The second day of racing at EWS Sugarloaf, the first of which was Rookie River at 1.8 kilometres in length. After that it was stage 3, the 355, which was the Queen stage, and the longest of the race at 4 kilometres. Jackpot was stage 4, before the ominously named Crusher DH for stage 5. The final stanza would be a rerun of Rock Lobster as stage 6. Giant Enduro was up for day 2. He stormed home to a third place in the opener, just ahead of Jack Moyer. Richie Rude was second on the stage and now up to second in the overall. Melamed was clinical, 6/10 to the good, Jessie led. Ibis's Rafaela Richter was continuing her fine run of form and was third on the opening stage. Isabeau Courdurier knew that this block of racing in Canada and the US would be crucial to her title aspirations. First on stage 2, just ahead of Bex Baraona, was a good start. Isabeau Courdurier's lead was cut by 5 seconds on stage 3. Second on the 355 was Ella Conolly. She crashed during the pro stage but was now on the hunt for some time. The stage win and the overall points went to Bex Baraona, who was now firmly locked on to Courdurier's lead. Frenchman Irene Menju beat Martin Maes home to second on the stage. Sensing trouble for Melamed, Richie Rude landed a hammer blow off a stage win. Courdurier and Baraona remained locked together on stage 4. The Frenchwoman beat the British rider home by just under 2 seconds to bolster her lead. Morgan Schauer, who'd been having a quieter day on the stages by her standards, took the win on 4. Because EWS Sugarloaf hadn't served up enough drama, there was more of it on Jackpot. Richie Rude lost 6 seconds and rolled in 22nd, having lost the front end. Jessie Melamed won the stage to promptly capitalise. Sam Hill came second on the stage. Rude's slip hadn't been as costly as Melamed's. He now led the race by 20 seconds from the Canadian. Morgan Schauer finished the 5th stage in 3rd, just behind Isabeau Courdurier. The Lapierre Zip Collective rider was now 10.7 seconds to the good in the overall. Ella Conolly won stage 5 and was charging hard. Jack Moyer, who had a nightmare start to the day, won the stage. Ewan Deneau and Jessie Melamed followed Moyer to the line, which meant that the latter now led the race. Isabeau Courdurier still led. The positions behind her had fluctuated, but the lead had held and was now looking stable at 14 seconds. The pro men's race had seen names tumbling left, right and centre all day. But finally, with one stage to go, Jessie Melamed led from Martin Maes. Morgan Schauer finished the final stage of the race in 3rd. Ella Conolly won the final stage in a race that she had really ridden herself into. There was no stopping Isabeau Courdurier, who won her 3rd EWS of the year at the end of a block of racing that at one stage it looked unlikely she'd even attend. Jack Moyer won the final stage again this year. It may not have been the result he wanted at the start of the weekend, but proof once more that the speed is definitely there. Martin Maes followed him home and was rewarded for having the most consistent, drama-free afternoon of the big names. Jessie Melamed was 3rd on the stage and secured himself the win in the process. At one stage, all had looked lost for the Canadian, but he had dug deep and stuck to the plan. The reward would be vital breathing space at the front of the overall standings. The pro women's results then: Courdurier from Baraona from Conolly. Scarzy and Cook both completed standout rides. Morgan Schauer lost some ground on Courdurier with an 8th place finish. Melamed takes top honours from Maes and the superb Walker. Alex Rudo, an EWS E winner from earlier in the year, took 4th. That leaves the overall pro women's looking like this. It's a case of mission successful for Courdurier. She not only survived the block of back-to-back races, but extended her points lead in the process. It was 2-1 to Melamed in terms of Canada and North American rounds. He extended his lead and tightens his grip on the yellow plate. Well, there we go then. What an absolutely fascinating race. I'm joined by Noga Karem from GT Factory Racing. Noga, you enjoy that one?
Yeah, it was actually nice to see. First time outside of the race tape, so very interesting to watch. And damn, this rider ride really fast.
Let's talk about Isabeau Courdurier then. I mean, at times we talked about this season we mightn't see her here at this block of racing. We saw her and she's extended her championship lead.
Yeah, I guess this girl is honestly, she's unbelievable. I mean, she just come every race. She always struggles. She has so many things on her mind, and she just proved that she's definitely the best out there. And yeah, I'm very impressed of her, and personally super fan.
You've raced against her for years, as you say. How mentally tough is she? Never mind physically tough, to deal with an injury like that and still come here and do so well.
Yeah, she always come to the race I don't think I can race. I have this, I have that, and somehow she always managed to put it together. And she's so consistently good. So I honestly cannot explain. I did ask her, what is your secret several times. I never got a clear answer, so
She
I
wouldn't
don't
tell
know.
you.
I don't know what is the secret. I think she's just really, really talented and works really hard, and she's just good at it.
Morgan Shar, 8th place today. Izzy's pulled some points on her. Hattie Harnden, we didn't see her here with that arm injury. It's all Courdurier as far as the championship's concerned at the minute, isn't it?
Yeah, I guess with championship, it's never over until it's over. You can see it in downhill, cross country, and enduro. It's like game is open until the last race, I guess. So it will be interesting the next few races. Isabeau is definitely with a good lead, but as I said, in enduro, anything can happen. So I'm looking forward to see how it's going to go.
How impressed were you today as well with Gloria Scarzy and Becky Cook as well, finishing 5th. Her best result for a couple of seasons.
Yeah, that was very, very impressive to see these two girls. Becky has always been up there, usually top 10. This year, a bit maybe not the best year. And yeah, today she was 3rd for a while. And yeah, that's the kind of track she likes. She's a motorbike trial girl, and she rode really amazing. And I don't know, I hope she'll find the ride for next year, because she seems to be on a privateer for a while. So it will be cool to see her on a team. And Gloria, I mean, as far as I know, she came from road cycling and velodrome.
That's right, yeah.
And she's doing so amazing. I mean, to see her, like, she looks like a natural talent. So it's very, very cool to see it.
Now, if the women's race was exciting, the pro men's race today, it was all over the place. One of the most exciting we've had in a couple of seasons. And I mean, Jessie Melamed at one stage was 26 seconds back. Then, all of a sudden, Richie's in trouble, 49 seconds down after a crash, and Jessie's won it.
Yeah, that was insane. I mean, Matt Walker winning first time pro stage, if I'm not wrong. That was already like mixed things up a little bit. And yeah, I mean, Jessie's always pretty consistent up there. And it was a bit surprising to see Richie going backward so much. I heard he had a big crash on stage 5. And yeah, hard for him, but yeah.
Jessie, he won in Whistler, his backyard. Richie won in Burke. Now, Jessie's won here. How do you see that championship shaping up? Depending, of course, on what that shoulder's like that Richie hit today.
Yeah, I hope Richie's going to be fine. I saw him like struggling a bit in the pit before the last stage. So it's going to be interesting to see if he can recover for the last two. And I think it's going to be a great battle. Also see Martin Maes back on the podium. I think he found his speed back. So that's also very interesting, because he can always be up there. So maybe not for the championship for this year, but still could be a big contender for a win for the next few. So we'll see how it goes.
And Sam Hill back in the top 10 as well. We got to mention Sam, haven't we? It's been a while, but great to see.
So nice to see. Honestly, like, see him riding those French grassy turns, it's like next level. And yeah, good to see him. Looks like he's started to enjoy it again and back to speed. So it's really, really cool to see.
Well, there we go then. That is it from EWS Sugarloaf as far as the racing is concerned. But as we said all along, enduro races are won by the finest of margins. Line choice is key among them. Our very own Neil Donoghue has decided to break down some of the decisions that ended up in race wins this weekend.
Line choice is especially important this weekend. After 24 hours of solid rain on fresh tracks, conditions on course are an ever-evolving beast. We sent our camera crew up to capture how the pros work it out.
Yo!
Yeah, first choice is stay alive. Second choice is fast as possible.
Probably don't look at it and just ride it, but we stopped, so we're looking at it.
First practice run, slipper with a ton of rocks and roots. It's not so much to try a line, it's to like get myself into this mentality of like being loose. Kind of get on the main line and just let it dance.
Slick, and then like it's changing all the time because like the top layer's being moved every time someone comes down. You got to get it just right, otherwise you get pinged off onto something else. So I think it's got to be ready for anything like that.
Over the course of the weekend, heavy rain and bike traffic turned fresh loamy trails into a treacherous battleground for the racers. This was never more evident than in this high-speed rock garden near the top of the Queen stage, and it was arguably one of the most challenging sections of the race. On practice day, even the best riders in the world paused to evaluate their next move.
Where I went fully down the left, you went right, lookers right. But did you go low? It looks alright. Basically I went drop and then another drop. But if you go fully outside there, it looks okay actually. Yeah. There's lots to do. I think what Jessie did was probably the safest. The left line over the roots, to like full left works pretty good too. It's mostly just, looks like the outside of that right line, there's a rock that's like pushing everyone. But yeah, I think left or right is good, down the middle is not so good.
Main obvious one, I think. Probably a little gap in there you could do, but I don't know if it's worth it. Get through it with a bit of momentum and less risk.
Yeah, a bit puzzled, eh?
I think just one line outside. I think not jump at the beginning, it's too dangerous for my wheel.
Day 2 of racing and the course started to dry out. This gave the riders a little excuse to hold back. As you can see, most riders opted to take the rider's right line. Although it still had its obstacles in the form of large boulders, riders were able to come in from the top corner straight into the right and maintain speed going through the next section. The top 3 women on stage 3 all took the same line and carried amazing speed, with a little in it time-wise, as you can see from the split screen. Although you can see how easily riders could end up coming unstuck. Any deviation from the line and you were straight into awkward boulders, and in some cases on the floor. The top 3 men thrashed their way through this section, Richie Rude in particular holding back in no way at all. He rides a more direct line over the boulder, pushing through the rock garden, and even in this short section you can see where he makes up time. Pure Richie Rude aggression.
Some incredible insight there. Fascinating to see how the different riders approach these sections on the stages. EWS teams are made up of not just riders but an entire entourage of backroom staff, one of the most important of which is the mechanic, keeping the bikes rolling through a tough year of enduro racing. We went behind the scenes with Lapierre Zip Collective's Craig Miller to find out what life is like as a pro mechanic on the EWS circuit.
It is very important to have a good mechanic. It's basically 50% of the job because the bike is like 50% of you. You are racing it, but for sure if your bike is not able to make it down, there is no way you can like win. So I think it's very important, and also to have a real relationship. You need to trust your mechanic 100%, and he also needs to understand you. I'm quite difficult to work with because I don't have a clue about settings or anything, so I kind of put it into my own words, and then he needs to translate. My name is Isabeau Courdurier, and I'm riding for the Lapierre Zip Collective.
I'm Craig Miller. I'm mechanic for the Lapierre Zip Collective. I look after all the riders and work closely with Isabeau on settings, setup and our race approach. This morning we're on Sugarloaf. Now we're up to practice the first day to the day. Got the team up ahead and over here.
I get to work with 2 mechanics. Craig, who is in charge of everything related to our bikes, but for me, more especially the suspensions. So he's doing all my testing suspension-wise. And then I get to work with Cedric, who will be in charge to make sure my bike is running 100% the day of the race. And also that will be there to help me if I have a mechanical or any issue during the race.
The approach for a race, it starts way before the race week. In terms of materials is quite important. We've got to calculate what we think we'll need and what we'll consume through it, and what we can feasibly travel with. So in Europe, we've got a van, a trailer. I've got a loadout sheet for every race, predicted on riders, how many will be there, what we think we'll need. For these sort of races where we're flown, I've shipped stuff ahead, contacted sponsors to ship stuff ahead. I then go into a standard process. Every race we try and treat the same. Usually be here the Monday. Tuesday, Wednesday is the time I've got to go through the bikes. Wednesday is normally my big service day. I'll take each bike one at a time for each rider, go through them, check everything, freshen up what's needed, and then make sure it's ready Thursday morning's shakedown. So shakedown gives us an initial impression of the tracks, and from there we'll make our sort of predictions of what setup we want for practice, what sort of suspension settings, coil or air, and tyre choice. And then we'll go from there into the actual practice day on Friday. Adrian's one's changed the front tyre, so I've stopped and I'm swapping the tyre between his spare bike and his actual race bike while he goes and has a look at the track ahead. And then Saturday we've got the pro stage starts. So we'll do one practice run in the morning, and then we'll maybe have 2 hours before the guys go again for the race run. Go through everything with a fine-tooth comb, check that there's no damage that we haven't spotted, and if there is, we've always got to have other parts ready to swap on.
Final bolt check, just going through all the bolts, make sure nothing's loosened off. So you're not actually adding any torque, you're just feeling that they're up to the torque they were at before you set it off this morning.
If everything's good, sticker the bikes up. The bikes get a sticker on them on frame, chainstay, fork, front wheel, rear wheel, and after that sticker goes on, we can't change any parts without taking a time penalty. And when we go out, we'll do the pro stage, and then Saturday night, usually there's not too much to change, usually it's all been done the night before, and it'll be a quick check over, make sure everything's as it should be, and then the guys are out on Sunday. Yeah, the team setup is key for the rider. 90% of racing is confidence. The guys need to be here, be confident in everything that's around them, feel comfortable. It's like a good mechanic's not going to win you a race, but if you're not confident they remember to tighten your bolts up, you're not going to go as committed as these guys need to go to win the race.
For me, the most important thing that I like on my bikes is when my brakes are really well done and where I have a very small leverage to brake. And I know it's always quite something I asked, and that's my favorite part. When I get on my bike on race day, touch my brakes and the feeling is absolutely perfect, then I'm like, okay, let's go full on.
Thanks for joining us here at the EWS Sugarloaf. The EWS season now takes a short break as we head across the pond to Europe, where we'll wrap up the season. We'll be back on the 17th of September in Crans-Montana, Switzerland, for our next instalment of Enduro racing, where we'll not only have the EWS, but we will also see the return of our e-bike race series, the EWSC, after the mid-season break. With only 2 rounds remaining in both championships, we expect the racing to be closer than ever as our riders battle it out for the EWS and EWSE championships. We'll see you there.